An air traffic controller receives a mysterious transmission.
The pilot was talking to the air traffic controller about something hovering in the sky near his plane.
Suddenly, the aircraft vanishes.
This is scary stuff. People don't just disappear.
The incident is so strange, it draws the attention of a senior NASA scientist. October the 21st, 1978. At 7:06 p.m., the Air Traffic Control Centre in Melbourne, Australia, receives a strange transmission from trainee pilot Frederick Valentich.
Just as he was breaking the coast of Australia, he asked the question, is there an airplane above me?
It's hovering, but it's not an aircraft.
When air traffic controller Steve Roby checks, he finds no other flights that are scheduled over Bass Strait at that time. Valentich maintains radio contact, and his reports soon become even stranger.
Frederick Valentich said that there was something hovering in the sky near his aircraft, and he at one point said it was metallic and very, very large. There were 4 bright, intense lights, like on an aircraft, and there shouldn't have been anything there.
These words are the last anyone hears from Freddie Valentich, but the transmission from the doomed plane continues.
The noise is sort of scratchy. It sort of sounds metallic on the transmission.
This is 17 seconds of noise, unlike anything that any air traffic controller has heard before.
At the time of the investigation, there are no witnesses to the fate of Valentich or his aircraft.
Neither Valentich nor his airplane were ever found.
The Australian government launches an investigation. When it hits a dead end, the missing pilot's family turns to a NASA research scientist for help.
Richard Haynes is the real deal. He's a research scientist who spent many years studying cases of UFO reports.
Haynes calls the incident the Melbourne episode and juggles the investigation alongside his research duties at NASA. In his quest for answers, Haynes chases down every lead.
He's interviewing everyone connected with that case, looking at aircraft maintenance records, anything that could give a clue as to what happened to that plane.
After 4 months of painstaking research, Haynes uncovers a lead the official government investigation either never found or never followed up. A unique photograph, capturing an unknown aerial anomaly.
About the same time, 60 miles away on the Australian coast, a photographer is taking a photograph of the sunset.
The time coincidence is uncanny, and the image that the photographer captures appears to show an unidentifiable object floating above the ocean in mid-air.
A rigorous investigator, Haynes questions the photograph's authenticity. But the image does open up potential new avenues of investigation.
With this object photographed so near to the time of the Valentich sighting, it's tempting to say that the two are definitely related.
Haynes focuses on identifying the weird noise recorded in Valentich's final transmission.
The sound is the only piece of concrete evidence that makes this different from any other light aircraft flight.
In 1987, the NASA investigator puts forward an astonishing hypothesis.
The metallic sounds might possibly be the contact of a disc, let's say, or a vehicle of some kind on his airplane. It's rather far-fetched, but we have to consider it as a possibility that he was abducted by some race or species that's capable of doing this sort of a thing.
But Haynes and subsequent investigators also have to consider other explanations. Former US Air Force pilot and astronomer James McGeer has a less controversial but still unproven theory.
It's fairly apparent that the 4 lights that caught his attention were Mercury, Venus, Mars, and the bright star Antares. It so happens that Venus that particular night is the brightest it ever gets. And he started looking at that and probably inadvertently started the airplane into a slow turn. And as this turn builds up, it'll get tighter and faster and faster. You lose lift, the aircraft starts descending, and pretty soon the aircraft is out of control. But he's keyed the mic. What is the sound? Is it the aircraft actually breaking up from G-forces from the graveyard spin? You know, we really don't know.
Haynes's investigation concludes that Valentich probably crashed into the sea. But to this day, he refuses to rule out the possibility of extraterrestrial involvement. And without further evidence, the case remains open. In 2012, the space agency's planet hunting team spots something that baffles even them. NASA's Kepler telescope finds 2 planets orbiting a star in the distant Cygnus constellation. But the data from the telescope suggests they're doing something unnatural.
Both planets have been pulled out of the equatorial plane.
The star is spinning like this, and the planets are going around like that. It's all very peculiar.
You have to wonder, are we looking at something else besides conventional planets? Are they really planets? Are they artificial?
If these bodies were artificial, they'd have to be bigger even than the fearsome Death Stars of Star Wars. The engineering involved would be far beyond human technology. But planetary orbits such as these do not happen when planets form naturally.
Something very strange must have happened to these 2 planets in order to have them both misaligned the same amount from the equatorial plane. That's the hard part to explain. You'd need something with some unholy power to shift it out of an equatorial orbit.
The question is, what could create such a force?
As an alternative to the Death Star hypothesis, planetary scientists have summoned an invisible planet.
And we speculated that there was this additional body further out that was much larger. But we don't know that it is there yet, and we don't know what it is or how far away it is, just that we have a hint that this extra body further out might be true.
This invisible planet, labeled Kepler 56d, would have to be huge, 3 to 4 times the mass of Jupiter. Capable of exerting such an immense gravitational pull that it could compete with the gravity of its own star. Whatever the 2 rogue objects are, they are doomed. In 130 million years, the star will expand, consuming them both. The dark world we call 56d will be the only survivor of the apocalypse.